A while back, I had made a milkshake glass in CAD, and I thought I'd try the same thing in Alibre, and it turned out pretty well. So I thought I'd get to be a little bit more interesting and perhaps change the design enough to make it into a drinking glass. So since I've already done a milkshake glass in CAD, let's cover a drinking glass in Alibre. Let's start by making a new part, right? So here we are in a new part environment with Alibre, and the first thing that I would like to do is go with my highlighting my ZX plane right here. That'd be my top plane, and let's create another plane with reference to that one, and let's give that one like 2 inches up, right? So that will be the narrowest part of our stem, would be at the level of the new plane that I just made. Let's highlight my new plane, create another plane with reference to that, and let's go 4 inches up, right? So that will be, say, where the bowl of the glass is. I'm going to close that. Let's make another plane. Maybe the bowl will neck down a little bit here, and create another plane. And maybe this will be our final flare, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. In fact, let's create one more. I'm just seeing that I could make this a little bit taller and get away with it. So let's make this 4 inches. All right, so we have 6 planes total. I'm going to start on my ZX plane and create a sketch. So the question is, what's the easiest way to make a bunch of arcs that are evenly spaced? In my mind, that would be with creating a hexagon, right? So we're going to create a hexagon and apply it. And now I'll add in a horizontal relation. And we can dimension this. I'll actually dimension it by its reference circle. And why don't we make this, say, a 4-inch radius. And I'm not creating this to any particular scale, so this might be more like a vase, but this is a concept how to do it, which is what I do on this channel. Alright, so we've got our 4-inch radius. Now I want to highlight everything, and we'll right click and convert everything to reference. And now I've got a nice little platform that I can make a bunch of arcs. So I'm going to choose my circular arc here, and I'm just going to create some circular arcs all the way around. I can select all of these, and I'm going to choose an equal relation, and then I can select 2 more, and choose a tangent relation here, and now we have a fully defined sketch. Alright, next we're going to choose our next plane up, activate a sketch. We're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to create a hexagon. Oh, there we go. And then 1/2 inch radius. So this will be the narrowest part of our stem. Let's add in a horizontal constraint. And then let's highlight everything and make sure that we are on reference figures. Now, I'm again going to make my arcs. Now you can also try to do a arc by its center point and run to 3 defined points, right? I have 3 defined points, and so you could get a fully constrained arc right off the bat. Every platform that I've tried that on, I've had some sort of difficulty, including SolidWorks. So I'm a little bit more cautious about that method, and if you're a control freak like I can be about constraints and relations, sometimes it's nice just to add them yourself. Oh, and I chose parallel. I meant to choose equal, so I'll just click these equal around here. Alright, so we're all equal. Now, select two of these and choose tangent. So we're done there. Again, that's the narrowest part of our stem. Now it should get a little bit more exciting here. We're going to highlight this, add in a hexagon, but this time we get to leave it driving. We'll transition from a circular cross-section to a hexagon one. And we'll choose horizontal there. We'll add a dimension of 2 inches. So now we've transitioned to a hexagonal cross-section and gotten a little larger. Let's do the same thing. 2D sketch here. Let's choose a hexagonal cross-section. Now I'd like to twist this as it goes up, but for my initial loft, sometimes things work a little more smoothly to loft it straight first, and that may help create consistency throughout the loft and just make sure that it looks good straight. So let's create this little bowl here, and this will be, say, 7 inches. We'll close that, and we're coming up here, create a sketch. We want this to neck down a little bit just to add more of a nice little fancy shape. You know, we'll grab a hexagon, horizontal, we're going to go with, say, 6, so it becomes thinner. And then we want to do our outward flare, where you drink from, or if this turns out to be more like a vase, where you would have the stems of your flowers, I guess. Apply that. We'll go with horizontal. And then from here to here, let's go with something like 8.5. All right, let's see how that looks. I'm going to grab loft, and every sketch coming up here. So does this look about right? I think it does, apart from this little narrow neck right here. So on this loft, on my second sketch here, and now we've got a sharp edge, which I don't think actually seems to look that bad, but I think overall I'd like to smooth it out. So I'm going to uncheck minimize curvature. And that looks a little bit better. I can also edit the amount of tangent. What if I made this 4? Right, that smoothed it out a little bit as well. Looks like my glass base is a little bit small. What if I made this something like 6? Looks a little bit more proportional. And we're still quite smooth throughout here. So why don't I start to edit some of these sketches. So if I'm looking at my sketches, I want to edit my 4th sketch first, sketch number 4, to start this twist. And all I want to do is go to my horizontal relation that I've added right there and hit the delete key. And now I can give this a value. So I'm going to choose my axis as a reference and this top line, and we're going to give this a dimension of, say, 35 degrees. So now you have a nice wobble or wave in there. And if I edit my 5th sketch, I'm going to delete my horizontal constraint, and you can tell because it's those two arrows that are pointing away from each other. And let's give this a dimension, something like, you know what, I'm going to give this 35 degrees as well. And I want to take my other sketch, sketch 4, I'm going to back that off down to, say, 15, a little more gradual that way. Right, so that's a pretty good twisted profile, I think, for a drinking glass. Next, I want this to be hollow, of course. So let's work on that. Let's activate a sketch on the top face of this glass, and let's have this be circular on the inside, so at every corner we'll have a little local thickness, and that could be, depending on how you make the glass, a big issue or not. So make sure that you're not creating an issue depending on how you make this. I'm putting a point right on the perimeter of our circle here. That'll help me with sizing. I'm going to select my origin, and let's choose a vertical constraint, right? So now I can size my circle relative to my outer shape, so that if a change is made, the circle will update nicely and you won't have to worry about anything breaking. Let's go with 0.125, right? So our thinnest section here is going to be 1/8 of an inch. We do have kind of a massive thickness in here, so we'll have to either fill that out, or we'll have to change this to be a more hexagon pattern. And you know, I'm thinking a hexagon pattern might work pretty well. So let's change this here. I'm going to make a new hexagon. We'll apply that. Make sure that we are horizontal here. Change my mind mid-video. I do that more than you know, I just don't mention it usually. Let's go with 0.125, right? So we have 1/8 inch thick. Pretty thick. Everything else looks good. So let's deactivate that. Let's head back to our next plane down here. Right here, we're going to activate a 2D sketch. Now, of course, I can't see anything now. So let's head on over to View. And actually, I like to have these things on anyways, but we'll change our draw style to be, let's go with wireframe. And I can tilt my view just enough that when I go back to my sketch, I can draw my polygon, apply that, and then I can add a parallel constraint. And it looks like I may be unable to reference my existing sketch. So we'll project a sketch. We'll create a reference figure. There we go, that little edge there. So choose this line here. And we have a create reference figure and maintain association. Now I can do my parallel. And let's go with the same dimension. 0.125. It's probably more like a vase, but you can always just apply a scale afterwards. Let's sketch on the same plane. Let's go with the same thing of project, create a reference figure, and maintain association. We'll create a parallel constraint. Give this thickness again, 0.125 or 1/8 inch. let's again sketch on the next plane down. I'm going to throw a circle in here. This is very subjective. I'll give this 1 1/8 inches. And deactivate. Let's now do a subtractive loft. And I want to start with this sketch. And notice I'm choosing the internal sketches here. And I can choose them from the tree, which is probably easier. Right, and then I have the same settings as before, so we're going to say OK. Let me change my draw style. I'm going to go back to shaded, and we've got a bit of a problem. So what I'll do is in this loft, because we specified a certain tangency here, that on our very last one here, there we go. So we get a little bit of a local thickness as we neck down. I think that was planned, but we just had to specify a tangency to profile on that very last one. And we have a fun little, I don't know what you call it, goblet right now. Or chalice? I think it's chalice. We have a chalice that we're working with, but of course if we make it glass, then we've just got a glass. Next, I probably want to round out the inside, but also kind of smooth out these sharp corners here. So if we go model, and then, let's go with fillet. I'm feeling daring. Let's try 0.75 here. Nope, we erred out on that one. So let's try a different one. Let's try 0.5 works. I'm going to edit this. We're going to add this edge. Right, and I can go around and choose every internal edge. I think this, in fact, I think my shaded with all edges is throwing me off, so I'm only going down to visible edges here. So that should be all of our inner edges. So we're a little bit more smooth on the inside. Now, let's add in another fillet. That was a 1/2 inch, or an 1/8 inch thick, so plus 0.125. And that will give us a constant radius. And of course I chose the wrong edge. Let's try that one more time. Nope. That one. Thank you. Plus 0.125. See, these are so close together that it's easy to select the wrong edge. There we go. And of course we've errored out on that. So what I'm going to do is come out here. Let's thin this up, 0.25. And then let me generate to last feature. We're going to edit this and say 0.25 plus 0.125. Alright, actually, let's make this 0.25 because that's what will work. And then we're going to edit this and say 0.25 minus, 0.25 minus 0.125 is just simply 0.125, right? So now we should have fillets. Let's generate that. There we go. So now we should have fillets that have a constant thickness. That's what we want. So I can add some fillets in here. .0625, let's say, on this side. and this side. And that smooths out the rim. And I can do the same dimension here. But let's go a bit smaller, 0.05, right? 50 thou radius, because that's going to take a lot of distance off the base. And that, oh, one more thing. We want this to be a little bit more cylinder-like, right? So it looks like 0.125 works. I'd like that to be a little bit bigger, but hey, that's the bottom of our glass, and it works. So, hope this video was helpful. If it was, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.